Welcome to Crawford's World Headquarters with my good friend Hector.
How y'all doing today?
We're going to trim up this brisket and show you a little bit how we like to do it using some of our favorite products and of course Crawford's BBQ products. I'm going to start off trimming it and Hector's going to tell you a little bit about the brisket.
All right, guys. What we look for during competition briskets, we try to use the best, of course, the best quality meats. Normally, a prime or higher. Anything less than that, you're looking at losing marbling and things of that nature, moisture and size of the brisket. We're going to talk a little bit about this one that we have here. This one in particular, we have a cab certified Angus beef brisket that we picked up from one of our local vendors. Beautiful
our good
brisket.
Friend Andy Lugo.
Yeah, Andy Lugo, the meat hustler. So we look for about a 18, 20 pound brisket in that area. And of course, you want to look at your flat, make sure you got a nice thick flat because you're going to be doing a lot of trimming. But we'll end up probably cooking a 12-pound brisket once trimming is done. So Brian here, he's taking off the silver skin on the flat and we'll move on to the plug of the brisket and trimming it and things of that nature.
Some of these pieces that you see I'm getting, the best way to get to them is put your hand underneath it and kind of push it up so you're not digging into the brisket. And just getting those off because once we go to season it, season doesn't stick to fat like it's going to stick to the meat and penetrate. We want the seasoning to penetrate as much as possible. Some of this on the very end I'm not going to get too worried about because I know I'm going to trim that off. Just trying to get this stubborn silver skin off right here. But you don't want to gouge it. I gouged it just a hair there, but nothing to get your panties in a ball about. And then we're going to kind of show you how to trim it for like your backyard, and then we're going to take it a few steps further for like if you're going to do competition. Not so much if the way we're going to trim it today is not so much if you want burn ends for say KCBS, just if you want slices. Mostly everything we do is IBCA, and you don't turn in burn ends, so I never worry too much about burn ends. Although I love eating burn ends, that's the best part. But as far as competition, IBCA, don't worry about the burn ends. So then I want to get this actually doesn't have much of a fat cap on it already. If you can see, I mean that's maybe an 1/8 inch. So I'm not going to get any of that off. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to go ahead and I like to use this long knife because it makes long straight cuts easier. So I can feel, I'll show you on the other side. I can feel where that's at. So I'm going to go ahead and just start getting some of this off. Because that's not what I call good fat. This chunk right here, that fat is never going to do nothing but, it's not going to be edible. Nothing good's going to happen with that fat. So, we've got that top about as good as I want it for, like, say if I was going to do the backyard. I got some pretty good fat here, so I'm going to come across, get that. Now, when you're cooking backyard, you don't have to get too carried away. So honestly, if I was cooking backyard, that's about all I'd do. Because you want all the meat you can get, and because you're going to feed all your friends and family. Now here's a little trick that I like to use when I'm doing it for a competition. And I don't know if Hector's seen me do this or not, but I get me a little plastic cutting board, and the competition tray boxes are 6.5 inches at the bottom. So I cut this at 7.5 because I'm going to get shrinkage. So this is my template that I'm going to use to see where I want to slice it. I want it, the grain's running like this, so to get too far off that. You can get a little bit off of it. So that being said, this particular brisket's not ideal for what I want. I wish it was a little wider up here, or not so much on this side, but on this side, because this is not even close to 7.5 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat it into this a little bit, just because, you know, when you got a piece of meat, you got to do what you can with what you got to work with. And I already got this sliced pretty much where I want it there. So now I'm just going to take and cut off the rest of this right here. And then from there, we're going to save some of this for carne asada. Now, I'm just going to kind of square this end off a little bit using my cheat template. So there, that's all I need the cheat template for. Now another thing I want to do is when I'm doing a competition brisket, is I don't want it to be overly too big on one end. So I'm going to take a little bit of this off and kind of flatten it out a little bit. So, and I know you see that meat. That's okay, because that's not even the part we're going to be turning in anyway. Now I'm going to square that end off. Pull that over, would you? It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but I didn't have the best. Mother Nature didn't create this cow the best for me as far as IBCA trim brisket goes. Now this, I like to use this fillet knife to get into some of the silver skin that I can't get with my big knife, because I can kind of dig just a little bit, not without gouging my brisket. So I like to take scissors. I don't know how much this really matters in the end product, but it makes me feel better because it looks better starting off. You know, I like my brisket to look as pretty as I can. When I'm done cooking this for competition, this is where I'm going to get my slices from anyway. I mean, that's not going to be a good turn-in slice there, but that's not too bad. About as good as I'm going to get with this particular brisket. I always like to have scissors around because they make some of this fine tuning easier. You use scissors?
I usually use my knife, but one of the things that is good for is because this brisket is going to cook the way you put it on that pit. You don't want any sharp edges on your brisket at all. Normally, I trim it the same way. Of course, get any loose ends, anything that's sticking out. I want to get rid of that for, you know, purposes. When you start wrapping, you don't want to puncture your wrap or anything. So we do all. I'm sure everybody does the same thing and trim it as much as possible and get it, you know, no sharp edges or anything, because this thing's going to cook just the way you put it on that pit.
I don't know if you can see, there's a little bit of silver skin down here. I'm not going to worry about that because I know I'm not going to get my turn-in slices there. And if I was cooking for my friends in the backyard, if they don't like it, that's too bad. Now I got this injection powder, good friend Aaron Leslie, Texas oil dust, Calcutta. This is what I recommend. So I take first I put a cup of water in one of my mixing containers. Cup of water, quarter cup of this Calcutta, and then some of my beef spritz. So that's going to be 3 cups altogether, because this is 2 cups. shake it up.
So, Brian, do you actually warm this up so it'll dissolve better, or does it matter?
No, as far as that, if it's room temperature, I'm fine. I don't want it cold, you know. And what the injection will do is it's got some stuff that's going to add flavor to it between the injection powder and my beef spritz. And it's also got phosphates and stuff that's going to help add to the moisture content. So you have just the juiciest, most tasty brisket you can possibly get. I mean, a lot of this stuff, we do for competition. But I mean, if you want to be king of the cul-de-sac, there's nothing wrong with having the best brisket for all your friends and neighbors. And I'm just gonna, gotta be careful. It'll shoot everybody. Hector be wearing some brisket trimming or brisket injection. So I'm just gonna go in and just keep going until I get most of all this in there, till I just can't get any more in, because you're not gonna get too much in. Once it gets to a certain point, it's just gonna quit holding it. So I'm just gonna keep going, and I'm trying to inject with the grain for the most part. I'll go ahead and turn around on this side. Right here is where, these are gonna be my money right here. So I wanna get as much in that area as I can. And if you could smell, I mean, just smelling that injection right now, it's so beefy. I mean, it almost just makes you want to take a drink of it. It just smells so good.
Yeah, and you focus mainly on your turn-in area, so that's where you want to add as much injection as possible.
I'm kind of injecting everywhere, because even though I'm injecting in one area or another, it's going to run different places. So I'm about to call it good. You can just see it oozing out of the pores now, so I think we're pretty good on that. First, I'm going to season the bottom of it. And then when I season the bottom of it, I'm going to let it set until all the seasonings secrete. And as you see, when I put them on, they're going on dry. And after they sit here for a few minutes, it's going to be all moist, because it's all sweated in. That's the word I'm looking for. Sweated in. So I like to start off with the first layer of AP, Elk Creek. My buddy Cam Day makes that. And then, of course, some of my burnt beef. So I just put a light coat of the Elk Creek, and I'm going to put a fairly liberal coat of the burnt beef. Some say that you may not need to season the backside, but I figure, well, it's not hurting anything either. So we're going to let that set for a good 10 minutes probably, and come back, season the other side. It's sweated in nice here, as you can see. Not so much right there, it's just probably because I got a little thicker there than other spots. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this. Take this glove off. And now I'm going to work on the sides. Whoops, I'm going to put the AP on first.
So what does that AP mainly consist of, as far as
salt, pepper, garlic?
Salt, pepper, garlic.
It's just a good base, which my burnt beef has salt, pepper, garlic, but I just want a good solid layer of salt, pepper, garlic on there. I want to get it on the ends here.
Call it seasoning the four corners.
That's right. And I'm not getting a super heavy coat on here, just a nice light coat. And go back with the burnt beef. Let's get as much on there to stick as we can. some on the front here.
So now we're doing the meat side up. The
Yeah,
meat side part.
Meat side. This is money side here.
Money side, yeah. This is what you're showing. IBCA rules, turn-in trays are usually, I mean, they have to be meat side, I'm sorry, the fat side down. And that changed a couple of years back, but I think they look a lot better with the meat, with the fat side on the bottom of the tray. When
Yeah.
you open up that box and meat's facing up.
So now, in addition to salt, pepper, garlic, this burnt beef rub has some coffee in it, which coffee goes real well with beef. And I even have just a little bit of food grade charcoal, just to give it a little bit of a color that we want. And then several other goodies inside this to make things taste all warm and yummy. Got that on there. And then the last thing I'd like to do, and I only do this on the top, is I put some fresh cracked pepper. There we go. I'm gonna let this sweat in. As soon as this sweats in, I'm gonna put it on the pit. All right, got this new to the US Cook Perfect thermometer, same price point as say an iGrill, but it's got a lot more technology. As opposed to your normal thermometer, where it just takes a temperature on the end, this actually takes temperatures throughout the probe, so you get a more accurate gauge of what your meat's doing. So I'm going to insert this thermometer, so I'm going to know what it's doing throughout that probe. So I'm going to have better knowledge, better information to know how this brisket's cooking. All right, now I got my Cook Perfect probe in here. All the meat's sweated out nice. I'm going to transfer it to this cookie sheet so it's a little easier to get to the pit. Here we go. Put her on my one man, otherwise known as Black Beauty. Put it on my little rack there because I like to be able to move it around if need be. I like to put the flat away from the firebox, so I'm going to put it right there. A lot of times I like to put it in the middle, but one thing about here, it's a little easier to reach for when I'm spritzing, so I'm going to leave it there. Let that smoke start kissing it. We'll spritz it here in a little bit. Yeah, now my brisket's been on about 30 minutes. I got my Crawford's BBQ beef spritz. I like to keep my brisket nice and moist through the first 3/4 of the cooking process before it's wrapped. And the best way to do that is just keep it spritzed. And if you don't keep it spritzed, I feel like it is more likely to dry out, because if you don't keep it moist up here, it's going to suck the moisture out of the inside because it wants to stay moist. So give it what it wants. All right, brisket's been on about 4 hours. It's about 160, 165 degrees. We've been spritzing about every 30 minutes all this time. Now I'm ready to wrap it. So I'm going to take it on out. And some people prefer to wrap it completely in foil or butcher paper, but this is how I like to do it. So I got my mixture of beef spritz and just some burnt beef inside here, nothing special. Well, I guess it is pretty special. I'm just going to pour this in for some liquid to steam and whatnot. So I got that in there. Put it in, wrap it. Ready, set. Let it ride for another few hours. We're going to get around 205 and start feeling it for tenderness. All right, brisket's all done. It just got done resting for a couple hours. Got smoked on the one-man pit all day long, several hours at least, and used Crawford's products from the beginning to the end. And you never really know how good the brisket is till you go to slice it. So
That is a beautiful brisket. It's black gold.
yeah, So I'm going to slice this first slice off here. Put my hand on here.
That's as tender as can be.
It's feeling great. You can always tell how good a brisket is just when you're cutting into it. Got a nice bark. I can see the smoke ring. So, let's see what we got here. It's looking pretty damn good. Nice and juicy. That's pretty much what you want. It'll pop. You want to try a piece?
Yes, sir.
Give you some of that. Yeah, just, it's perfect. Look at that smoke ring. Nice charcoal bark. Moisture throughout the whole thing. Just doesn't get much better than that. Come on, Oscar, Paul. Tell me what you guys think.
Moist, juicy, money.
Money?
Money.
All the good qualities of a good brisket right there. That's good.
There you go.
Bark,
Solid
smoke
brisket.
ring.
That's all you need.
Good brisket. Really good.
Extremely
smoke
good.
flavor.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and of course, go to crawfordsbbq.com and buy all the products.
Get you some of these guys. Get you some of those.